Welcome to Vibrant Living Conversation. I'm your host, Gemma Putty. As a life coach to midlife mamas and women, I'm excited to bring these conversations from North Idaho and across this region to support you on your journey to vibrant living, glowing from the inside out, fully in your true to you power. For this interview, I am talking with Sue Griffith of Bungalow Candle Studio. I'm so excited to have her here today to learn more about her story, her beautiful products, and her mission to help us keep toxins out of our lives. So welcome, Sue. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Gemma. Thanks for having me.
Yes, my absolute pleasure. So I always like to start with a really broad question, just your story to creating Bungalow Candle Studio.
Yeah, so I've worked full-time job since I was 16.
Right.
Pretty much. Well, there was a small period where when I had both my boys where I went to part-time but pretty quickly. And there were times where I worked two jobs, to make ends meet. But I've always wanted to do something on my own. I think a lot of us have, right? We all have sort of these childhood dreams, and then, we move through life, and for whatever reason, it just gets pushed aside. And so, and some of us are in careers that are fulfilling. And, I just never was in a career that was fulfilling. I didn't have that feeling. So nor was it helping me make ends meet in the way I would have loved for that to happen. So I don't know, a couple of years ago, I was just kind of angry.
Yeah.
And threw up my arms, and I've always loved candles. I burn them. I worked remotely as of recent in my career, and it was a stressful job. But so I'd burn candles for sort of stress relief, and I could do that because I was working remotely. So
Right.
I just ordered a candle kit, scraped my pennies together and bought a candle kit. And it was weird. This time I just kept going. I made the candles. They weren't great. It was great. It was a learning curve for sure. I had to learn about, just a lot of it was a big learning curve. And then I'm a analytical mind too. So I wanted to make sure that what I was doing was accurate. So I was always doing lots of testing, and then I just learned about certain markets around town and, craft fairs. So I did my first one. I want to say that was the Vintage Market Days, or what was it, in Idaho? But anyway, there's several really beautiful ones around here. And that I just, I had a booth, I presented my candles, and people around this community and all over are just so supportive of small business that I kept going. That was just the piece, I was never not nervous necessarily about, because when I eventually left my job this past March, so it's not quite a year yet, like I was free falling for a little while, right? No consistent income. So it's hard because sometimes you just do it and you're still not sure if it's the right time, but you just still do it. You just still go.
Yeah, I love that. How long was it from when you first ordered your candle kit to when you quit your other job? I'm just curious.
So that was the winter prior. So when was that? So in October of 21.
Okay, gotcha. Nice.
Yeah, October of 21. And I just mainly gave them all away, I just for Christmas and stuff, and just kind of testing the waters then and talking about it, and created my little website. And then it wasn't until March or April that I did an event or two and then left my job. So it was pretty quick.
I love that. And I think, like you were saying, at some point in midlife, there's some kind of trigger, I feel like, for a lot of us, whether it's anger or frustration or just some pulling at your heart for more.
Yeah.
Especially when you're not, feeling fulfilled in your actual day job. That it's funny the things that suddenly drop into your life where you're like, I love candles. Why can't I do this?
Yeah. And it's funny because I think I was mad at myself because how sometimes people ask themselves that question, like, what am I meant to do? And some people know that right away. my youngest son, who's 18 now, he knows exactly what he wants to do. And he actually was a big piece of what motivated me to keep, once I started making candles and then moving forward, like his focus and complete attention to this goal of his, like nothing was going to be, there was no plan B for him. Like it's just plan A. That's actually what helped me move in the direction to leave my job and just 1,000%. You know, I've always been a hard worker. I've always given 100% in everything I do, but it's still when you're not fulfilled, you know, or, you know, maybe a person's looking at their retirement future and going, wow, I'm 52 right now. So, you know, I've raised kids. I want to be in a better position, but how do I contribute to society in a positive way? You know, like you, look at you, you're sort of spotlighting people's contribution to society and their stories, and what an amazing thing, because that might, you know, motivate or influence somebody in a good direction, we hope.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I think you touched on it too, the community that is around this area
Yeah.
from all of the fairs and markets, but just the community. And for me, even the inspiration for this podcast was going to those fairs. And I'm a chatty Kathy. I love like the one-on-one conversation like this, where I'm like, tell me what makes you tick. How did you get to creating, in your case, these beautiful candles and, you know, living this job, this dream job that you're creating your path. And I think, what was the piece that kept you going through like those hard times where you're like, I am free falling? For me, it's definitely been the community where I'm like, I just love this so much.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of didn't give myself an out.
Love it.
This time, I just, you know, I've been in a position in my life too, several times where I've had to start over. You know, I've moved a lot. I've had a lot of life changes that put me in a situation where I've started over, you know, changed jobs. And sometimes, you know, that's why I feel like everything's connected. I'm 52, I'm just now finding a passion, but what led me here were all of these hardships and different things that helped me be, I don't know, have thicker skin, right? And so when I left my job and just went full time, I mean, I probably worked, 80 hours a week, but and I'm still in beginning stages, like behind me is my studio.
I loved looking
was
at
my
it.
living room.
I love it. It looks so creative and fun.
Yeah, so, like I still have my little Christmas tree next to my, I don't know if you can see.
Yes.
I had to make it cute. But like
Yeah.
the horse, I don't know, everything, I didn't give myself an out. I just had to make it work I just had to. There was no plan B, right?
I love that. And I think that's what we need half the time, because if you can stay comfortable, like our brains, our minds want to stay comfortable and cozy and like have that paycheck that arrives in our bank account every 2 weeks and health insurance, right? But realizing that, what are you giving up to stay comfortable? Like, I think life is just such a journey of, like you're saying, learning the challenges, learning your lessons, and where is that path leading you forward, not staying like stagnant and safe and stable, in my opinion.
Yeah. And sometimes it is timing. I mean, I am,
Sure.
My oldest son is 23 and my youngest is 18. So technically I'm an empty nester, although my youngest is back with me just temporarily taking classes at Eastern University nearby. And then he's going to be at the university in the summer. But, like, I don't know that I would have been able to do this just, when my children were little, or even, because they were sports, like there was a lot of commitment that was first.
Right.
So sometimes, we have to weigh our decisions against what's priority, right? And even that's a sacrifice, but it's worth it when we're, if it means in our life, something has to get put on hold for just a little while, or maybe we continue doing it part time. That's okay.
Yeah.
I met a lot of really neat men and women, business owners in the Spokane area and Coeur d'Alene and all over, who their journey is a couple of years. They're still doing it part-time because, like one really neat friend I know, her name is Katie. She's with Malted Mutt. She started her company in 2014, and she has this adorable little girl. I want to say she's like 2 years old now and whatnot, but that's, you're busy. So,
Yeah.
and now her business is flourishing and it's getting at this point where it's like hitting this, point where it's going to go like this. So it's just neat. It's just, everyone has a time, and
Yeah.
sometimes you can jump off the cliff at a certain time and sometimes you got to wait.
Yeah. And realizing there isn't a right or a wrong answer. There's not like the
No,
spectrum of all or nothing, which so
right.
many of like our society likes to believe that there is. Like there's this whole beautiful gray area in between that is life,
There is.
right? Depending on the person, depending on their life chapter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Love it. I love
for
it.
sure.
So with your candles, what would you say your mission and your like real passion is in your business?
These candles really right away, they started with stories. All of my personal stories, places I've lived, discovery, especially here in Spokane. I'm Coeur d'Alene. I like to run and I like being outside. So some of my candles are inspired by Spokane and Coeur d'Alene and Sandpoint now and other places
Yeah.
because I can't stop. But anyway, and then, like my coastal collection, I lived in California. That's where I was raised.
Okay.
And then I lived in Oregon for a good chunk of my life where I raised primarily my boys. And I had a stint in Florida and came back. And now I'm up here in the inland Northwest. And so a lot of my candles the scents are inspired by the places I've lived and been.
Beautiful.
It's neat because I didn't know this was going to happen, but let's say I'm at my booth and someone's smelling a candle, their story comes out. Next thing I know, they're like, oh my God, this reminds me of, the jasmine, trees in my grandma's backyard or whatnot. And it's just kind of cool. And then it sparks this conversation. And now I'm connecting with this person and we're sharing our stories.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, we'll have stories that relate. I think what's nice about living on the West Coast is there are a lot of people, especially up here in the Northwest, who have moved here from California or other
Yeah.
parts of this country. And they're just trying to find a better, life, more affordable life, whatnot. And it's beautiful up here. So at any rate, it's neat. It's really the stories. I feel like it's just bringing out the connection with the community and
Love that.
they're non-toxic, and that was huge for me. There's 100% soy wax in each candle, and all the oils are non-toxic, paraben-free, phthalate-free.
Let's dive into that a little bit more because I mean, I've known that there are candles that, I mean, I can just smell them. When I smell them, I'm like, gag reflex like kicks in. I'm like, oh, what is this? So when you got into it, I know we chatted a little bit that it was just a whole learning curve of like, what is in the classic candle that you would find in a
Right.
regular store versus what did you need to do to make them non-toxic? And like, should they all be soy? I'm clueless about this.
And it's interesting because, and there's a couple other waxes that are considered non-toxic too, such as beeswax. Beeswax is a good wax. Coconut wax, although coconut wax is tough because it melts really easy, so it's harder to work with. So usually you find coconut wax in blends, and blends are usually coconut and paraffin. And
Okay.
what studies, we've learned out there are saying is that paraffin wax, even though it's a vegetable wax, like it's essentially natural, but when it's heated up and it's hot or it's burning with a wick, that's what emits toxins, unfortunately.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so 100% soy is what I've found to be the best bet.
Okay.
It's great to work with too because oils bond really well with soy. And for example, So the whole, the whole candle is scented, if that makes any sense. Like it just the chemistry between the two, the oils and the soy is just really good. So then you just get a really nice scented candle the whole way through instead
Mhm.
of maybe it, not being a good candle for majority of it.
So
Which,
what is like
yeah,
when a candle is toxic, the symptoms, like would people experience it? For me, like I said, it's very often the oil, the scents, the fake scents that they're using that I think is like just doesn't makes me want to, gag.
yeah.
But if people are like listening and thinking, "Ooh, I have been feeling this way. Is it related to my candle? What kind of symptoms do those toxins generally bring out? You know?"
That's a good question. Some people say headaches. I hear that a lot. Gosh, I get headaches from certain candles. Will I get headaches with your candles? Would be a question. And, you know, it's neat because I mean, I'm not a scientist and I don't, what I rely on is the information that I learn from when I'm buying my oils and where to buy, certain companies. Like, for example, the two companies that I order from, at least the fragrance oils and the essential oils, they have to pass certain tests to be considered clean, clean scents. And fragrance oils are still fragrance oils. They're not essential oils, but they, if they're considered clean, then when they're burning, they're not putting out the toxins that other fragrance oils that aren't deemed clean um, put out. And so I think that's where maybe why people get headaches or
Yeah.
it might affect other things. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I just know that you hear the word toxin and you're like, okay, it's probably not good.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, there's fragrances and
Yeah.
it's labeled as fragrances on so many things, right? Whether it's laundry detergent, candles,
Yes.
dish soap.
Yeah.
Um, and that, yeah, just knowing that even as an ingredient that you're really looking for essential oils, which aren't a chemical concoction of who knows
Right.
what, really, that
Yeah.
might make it more appealing, but what are they doing to the dishes that you're eating on, to the
I
clothes you're dressing
know.
your body in, to this like the aromas you're putting into your house, thinking
Yeah.
it's calming, but and I mean you say too for your kids, for your pets. Like
Yeah.
kids and pets are probably sensitive. Well, I know they're sensitive on a whole new level, different level than adults
For
are.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our immune systems might be different from each other in the sense some people's immune systems might be, less adapted to certain things. So it's hard, but I'm still learning, honestly. It's neat because in this world of, natural, I'm meeting, especially at the markets, a lot of people who are making other different products, like, um, like you mentioned dish soap and things like that. I learned, gosh, yeah, I'm washing my dishes with stuff that has toxins in it. Maybe it would be a good idea to switch that too.
Yeah.
So little by little, one by one, I'm getting educated around me from people who in their world are, selling really good products and we'll talk about like where we get our oils and things like that. I'm really transparent about that because it's important, this is what I'm putting in the candle. You get to know exactly what's in there instead of
Mhm.
because like if you go to a store you might see the candle will say if it says soy blend
Okay.
then that means it's just however much soy and the rest is paraffin
Oh,
wax.
interesting. Okay.
I didn't know that
Well,
until I became
yeah.
a candle maker.
My husband's been on a kick recently of looking up like the FDA and natural and the labels that are used out there. And it's really, like to see it as an opportunity to empower ourselves to learn like, what
Yeah,
does the label mean? Soy blend?
yeah,
Oh, like they want to put the soy on there because that's the clean part of it, but the
right,
blend part is affordable and
right, because
not so,
paraffin's a
so it's
lot cheaper. Soy wax is
yeah.
not cheap.
And that's the thing, right? Where it's
Yeah,
where's our money going to? I
yeah,
mean, I'm the queen of loving a deal, but what are you
right,
bringing into your
me
life?
too.
What are you ultimately, how's your health going to benefit if you're like,
Yeah,
let's pay a little bit more for my candle, for my laundry detergent, for my dish soap? And
yeah,
keep my healthy environment for my family. It's, yeah,
Yeah,
it's the funny world that we live in.
it is. Even the wicks I order are organic cotton. And, and it's just because the cotton wicks that are not organic there's like a film on them, just a small amount. It's nothing huge, but still, then
Yeah,
why not eliminate that too? Let's go with
yeah.
organic. And
No, I love that. Yeah. Yeah. Burning plastics in my house. I mean, is
yeah,
that what the film is?
that's probably what it is. It's some word that I can't even pronounce. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's
no, I
usually
can't even
the
pronounce
trigger,
that
right?
word. So
Yeah. Red alert, red alert. I'm
right.
curious, have you talked to anyone who has said, oh my gosh, Sue, I can burn your candles in my house and I love
Yes.
it, as opposed to I've never been able to burn candles before because they've made me feel ill, or
Yeah, that is the best feeling.
have,
It
okay.
is.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. I've been doing this now, I guess a year and a half, but in front of people a year. And that part is just, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a side effect I wasn't expecting when I first started. I didn't know how much of an impact just burning, because I don't know, I didn't have sensitivities before, but I probably didn't know it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I
Yeah.
was just, I was burning candles, didn't really read the label. Now, like I'm so educated now that, I know what it's doing. So when I hear somebody tell me that they feel better, and the biggest thing too is they can smell the candle the whole way through, which is really kind of nice.
That
It
is
is good to
really
trim our wicks though. It is something I learned. It's good to offer good maintenance to our candle, because if the wick burns, it's gonna char a little. And if we don't trim it, then we're still burning a lot of that char, and then that will impact the scent. So it still is good to trim the wick.
okay. That's good to
I
know.
never used to do that. So,
No, I had
oh,
no idea.
I guess that is a good idea.
I love that. Awesome. Um, so your products, I know you create more than candles too.
Yeah,
You want to talk about some of the other items that you create and how you got into the diversity?
I know. Gosh, I just like, for example, I have this one. These are the bath soaks. This is from the
Beautiful.
Spokane collection, and this jar's new, by the way. I had other size jars, but those jars kept back ordering, and it was hard for me to be consistent. So I switched to these cute jars. And
They're
anyway,
beautiful.
um, and like even this is calendula. Those are dried, pure calendula, and then the sea salt, it's just pure dead sea salt. And then the same oils. I use oils that are safe for your body,
Love that.
and skin.
Beautiful.
So I don't know. It's like I just pictured myself, like if I walked into a shop, like what would my shop look like? What would it entail? Like more, I wanted it to be a little more than just candles. I wanted it there to have other products that complemented candles. So, and I make these beads. Here, I've got one of my, I do all my photos next to my window right here.
Beautiful. Yes, beautiful light.
Yeah, I don't have to do any filters. I just wait for the light, if there's light, because lately there's,
Well
you
done.
know,
Yeah.
it's winter. But it's just a nice, easy way. I'm a novice photographer. I'm not any, but it's just a good, easy way to take a nice photo so people can see. But like these beads, I don't know why. I don't even know how I started making these. I think I was on Pinterest and I just saw this really pretty beaded, decor decorated with on somebody's coffee table. And I'm like, oh, I want to make those. And I learned like they're laborious to make, but
Are
they're
they?
they're easy to make. They're easy, but it takes time. So like
Yeah.
this is 100% jute, just real jute.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
And the beads are mango wood. So like the mango wood is a pretty abundant wood. So, it's not a rare wood that's being chopped down in some forest.
Yeah, but that's such a good point. It's just knowing all your
Yeah,
sources and the story behind them. I love that. It's taking ownership of what you're putting out there in the world. Love that.
yeah.
Love it.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well, I'm looking at your website and I mean, even your booth. I think when I first came to see you, I have dabbled, well, I've done graphic design, I've done design in one of my many lives. So like that,
neat.
coming to your booth and really seeing you have different collections that have just different looks to them, and they're
Yeah.
beautiful. And like you're saying, whether it's like a more Florida collection or a local collection here to Spokane, or having your beads and your bath melts and then your candles in the wooden bowls, which are beautiful.
Oh, I
It's
love making those. Those are
just,
fun.
and I love that natural look, like the wooden beads, the candles in the
Yeah,
wood,
I'm
and like,
drawn to that too.
yeah, it's,
Well,
you're
coming
on
from a
it.
graphic designer, that's a compliment because, I love aesthetics, and whatever, we could all say, oh, I don't know, I think aesthetics are important. I think it's, when you're, whether it's, and it doesn't need to be over the top, just something simple. And I love texture. And I think, you know, in my life, I wanted it to feel organic, right? So
Yeah.
good beads, and one day I'll have a shop, right? Hopefully a storefront, and
Oh, I bet you will.
so
Yes.
I'm preparing myself for that with my little booth setups.
Yeah, I can see it already. Yes. And I think to the colors, it's just another element of our senses that
Yeah,
I don't know about you, but the branding of a product is as important to me. Like,
yeah,
yes, I'll look at the ingredients, but if this label is more like appealing to my senses, to who I am as a person,
yeah.
I'm gonna buy that one over this one that's in the branding, you know?
Right. Yeah, I spend hours on Canva. I use Canva to
Yes,
create.
I love Canva. And it's
Oh, I love
free.
Canva. And
Amazing,
especially
right?
for a novice, like I'm not a graphic designer. Once I got candle making down, man, I was so nervous about that piece of it. Like, oh my God, I got to come up with my logo. I've got to come up with what is the label going to look like? And I can remember the first set of candles, I just like spent days and I remember feeling like I was hitting a wall too, like, and
Right.
then once I made a decision and then got it worked out, then it kind of flowed. Then it's amazing. We're all creative, right?
We are. People
And
like to say that
we
they're
have
not, but
both sides.
yeah.
And so it's just like, I don't know what happened. And that's why I have so many collections. I can't stop. Like all that has been, shoved in there for all
Yeah.
these years. And then the box just opened and,
I love it. Yes. Is there, I mean, you're obviously very connected to like your intuition too, and that in a creative. Is there is there a time when you find yourself being the most inspired? Like I know for me, I also love running. So running
oh,
is a
nice.
time where like these ideas drop in from nowhere, which obviously it's like my intuition, right?
Isn't
My
that true?
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my, I feel like I want to have a notepad as I'm running.
Right. Or you have to like speak it into the phone, right? So you're like, okay, here we go. Blah 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 blah
Totally.
blah. Yeah. But is it running for you, or does it just depend?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I like to run outside and I'm
Yeah.
looking outside right now, right? And it's like at the middle of January and I want to be one of those runners that can run in the snow and the freezing cold. And I've done it, a few times. I'm not a regular go outside in 20-degree weather.
Right.
I want to be, and I'm trying working on that. But like I've gotten some inspiration running. For example, I have a spring candle called High Drive Bluff in Springtime, and I called it that because I'm up here in South Hill of
Yeah.
Spokane,
Ooh.
and if just along High Drive right there, I mean, it's just this beautiful view. And I'm like, and then there's this bluff, like you could hike it.
Okay.
What is it? And I'm like, what am I smelling? And this was during the spring last year, late spring, because it was our winter dragged on. But and I just researched what it was that grew there, and then I researched just some oils that were comparable because I couldn't find exact matches on some of them, but I was able to find like a floral note that was similar and such. And so then that's how I came up with that candle. And it literally, people say, they're like, wow, this is High Drive Bluff. This is,
Oh, love that.
and then the
Love
other
it.
piece is custom candles. I have been, I love the challenge of coming up with a custom candle for a client, whether it's their business or they're getting married and they want candles to give as as a gift to everybody being coming or whatever the case may be. And that piece is kind of cool because then like you have this interest in other people's stories, right?
For
I can
sure.
relate to that. I love listening. I will sit and listen to someone for an hour, tell me your story.
Yeah.
I get to kind of take that and then incorporate that into the custom candle. And that's where that inspiration comes. So,
I love that. When I was reading your blog too, and I love how you've divided it into like four different, was it woodsy, amber, floral, and what's the other one?
yeah,
Fresh,
fresh and clean.
fresh,
Yeah.
fresh and clean. Yes. And
Yeah.
that really helps because I mean, I'm the queen of just like picking up candles and smelling them. And then I'm like, ugh, I suddenly you can't smell anymore.
Oh,
Right.
for sure.
So I think that was really, I loved reading that article and just getting some clarity in my mind of like, yes, I am usually attracted to frankincense and myrrh, but yes, in the
Yeah.
summer, like those fresh ones are really like, that's what I want in my house. And it was just fun to even read it. So I'm sure as you're creating custom candles too, really getting into what are people's preferences? What time of year is it? What is it, male or female?
Yeah.
Like energy that you're trying to create. Like I love that. I bet
Yeah.
that's so fun.
And I need to do this still with my website. I want to be able to create a tab on the front page where that's exactly it. And I haven't done this yet. The blog, and I give credit to the copywriter. Her name is April. She's just incredible. She's the one who helped pull that out of my head and get it in a blog. She's the one who wrote that with me and for me, really.
Amazing.
She's a person that would be amazing to interview, with your podcast. I'll have
Yeah,
to send you her information
please
later.
do.
But anyway, but yeah, I want to do that on my website where someone can go just, what scents are you looking for? Woodsy and all that. And then it brings them straight to just those candles that fit that category.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would
Yeah.
be really fun.
So
Yeah.
thank you. You're actually helping me remember to do that.
Yes. Well, and then I was also reading your Valentine's Day email about you having more masculine scents coming too, which I
Yes.
loved because my husband likes burning candles in the garage. And I'm
Oh my
like,
gosh, isn't that funny?
it's like we put it in such a box as like this feminine thing, but there's
Right.
so many like, and I honestly love all the so-called masculine scents,
Me
right? The
too.
woodsy, the
Yeah.
ambers, but to have that to actually be like, I can gift this to my husband for Valentine's Day. It doesn't have to be the other way around, you know?
Exactly.
How
And men
fun.
do generally like scent, right? And
Yeah.
therefore candles, and so it's funny and honestly, this new collection I made called the Cascade Collection, and that's primarily masculine scents, was inspired by over the past year, just enough people going, hey, do you have, sandalwood? Do you have cedar? Do you have more masculine scents? And I would only be able to point them in to one or two directions. Like I only had really one or two candles that would match.
Yeah.
And that's not enough. Like I needed more choices because we're all sense personal, right? We're
Yes.
drawn
Yes.
to certain scents. So that's where I'm like, I need to get this collection out.
Yeah. And like when we're like, actually, we enjoy that too, right?
Oh yeah. I'm in love with
I
them.
love
I'm like, oh, I'm burning these. I have to take them all the time. So I'm
Yes, I love
has to
that. So
burn
I
these
would
a
love
little
to
longer.
know about your candle making process. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't know. I mean, I've made candles at like different workshops over my life, but I'm curious about because you said that you are the only one that makes all of your products. So
Yeah.
specifically for the candles when you're making them, what's your process?
Yeah. So, it's funny. Up to just a month ago, I don't know if you could see it. Let me see. So in front of the tree,
Uh-huh.
you'll see a black, like it looks like a Presto pot.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's hard to see it, but anyway, in front of it is a little spout. So that's
Okay.
new. I finally invested in a wax melter that has a spout so that I can put my what do you call it? The pitcher underneath and then easily put the right amount of wax in there. So
Okay.
before that, I had a smaller Presto pot that didn't have a spout, and I was literally picking it up and pouring it in how I didn't spill it all over myself, and I don't no idea. Like literally, it was either that or ladle it, which I was
Oh,
using
yeah.
a stainless steel ladle before that. So I'm
Love it.
slowly but surely upgrading my process, my systems to be a little more efficient, and
Yeah.
it takes investment of stuff. So I'm really excited to get the one with the spout.
Nice. So when you've got your set, do you commit to like, okay, I'm going to make this certain candle, or I'm just going to work on this collection this week or this month? And then do you have like the scents mixed and then it's just a matter of pouring it into the hot wax?
Right. So as far as the making process, I have to get the wax to a certain temperature. And then once it's at a certain temperature, it's anywhere from like 160, you get different opinions out there, but I found that a good temperature is somewhere between like 170 and 180 degrees.
Okay.
That's a good point to add your oils. And so then what I do is I've got it on a little weigh, a little portable little weigh machine thingy. And then I'll add the oils. And I used to be a math major, luckily. So
Oh, nice.
I'm mathematics. Like I'm now I could just come up with it in my head, in other words, I used to have my calculator though, because I found that around 10% ratio to 90%. So 10% of the candle is oils and 90% of the candle is soy wax.
Okay.
And it ranges out there in candle making. Some oils, however, are strong, like peppermint. Peppermint is like,
oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, you
Makes
you
your
only
eyes
need a
water.
couple drops, and it's, some oils, go to 5% or whatever, 8%, but I'm finding, generally speaking, for the most part, but I have to test first. So if I'm coming up with a new scent, new candle that I'm testing, and I'll have like 3 different candles, and I'll let them cure, and then I'll burn them. And it's called a cold throw, is when you're smelling the candle before you burn it.
Okay.
And it's called a hot throw when you're smelling it as it's burning. So those are the
Interesting. Okay.
little terms.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah. So, and I, this past year has been, I would pour mainly on the demand. I would have inventory, but I was sort of pouring as I was getting orders. It was just like I was kind of playing catch up. Like
Yeah.
I was calling it, I was chasing the wax,
Yeah.
but the position I was in, this is, it's a business, right? So there's investment, and yeah, I'd have to, orders would come in, I could order wax, orders come in, I could order wax, and I'd have a little wax. So I was filling orders timely, but it was still, I was like riding that line. And this year, thankfully, I started my year with 10 45-pound wax.
Wow. Amazing.
And it was such a good feeling. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not chasing wax anymore. This feels good. I've got, so
yeah. And I bet
grow.
even following the trends of like which candles am I making for this season? Which ones aren't going to sell
love
until
that part.
like July, right? Like I bet that's been interesting over the last year. Now you have a year of like data to reflect back on. But last year you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah. It was more, oh gosh, fall's coming. I better hurry up and come up with, my fall candles. Now I have fall behind me, and I know what candles also were favorites. And so, that kind of thing. And spring too, like literally probably not changing anything. Thankfully, spring and summer scents were just a hit. Like I just was really lucky. All of them are, and I have a lot. There are like 8 different Spokane and Coeur d'Alene inspired candles in that collection. So, like one of them, for example, is Spokanite Greenhouse Goddess, was like this runaway winner. And
Amazing.
if you love tomato leaf scented,
oh yeah.
there's a lot of green thumbs and around. It was inspired by another business owner, and she's really lovely. And she said, you've got to make a tomato leaf scented candle. And I was so skeptical, I was like, I tried it and I was like, wow, this is really going to appeal to people who love their gardens or who want to be a green thumb, or just are attracted to these scents because it's so natural and earthy and beautiful. And
I love that. I love your curiosity and you're willing to try things, and your community and like listening to your clients. I bet it's so fun. Yes. So this is a big question because I know even now you've got the diffusers too. I meant to
Oh
mention too.
yeah.
I know people like those, but if like right now in this season you were to say you had one favorite product,
Oh
can you
man.
say what it is? Is it a candle? Is it
So hard. Um, one favorite product. I don't know. That's hard. Can I pick one in each collection?
Yes. Well, what have you been burning most recently? How about that?
Well, yeah, the new collection from the Cascade collection, those masculine scents are just like, for example, if I grab it really quick, it's do I have it? Oh, I do. It's this one here. Sorry. It's cedar and forest. This
Oh,
one is just, it's like mossy, like you're in the depth of a forest and, you know, very
love that.
woodsy. This is my new favorite right
I
now.
love that. I feel like that's like the candle for the Pacific Northwest. Like if you've chosen and you
It
love to
is.
live up here, like this is your candle.
Well, and it's called, I know I had I'm like, wasn't sure what to call the collection. I didn't know if I needed to call it like, we had some ideas and April actually thought of night collection. She was batting around some ideas with me. And then I'm like, I really love moving in the direction of it being inspired by the Pacific Northwest and then the Cascades, run through Washington, Oregon, and California. And these are the
Yeah,
three states I've lived 40 plus years of my life. And I've
amazing.
hiked some of these mountains and, been to several, skied. So it's like, I kind of like Cascade Collection. We're going to call it. And so, yeah, they're all inspired by
Beautiful.
those
Yes.
smells, those familiar smells up there.
Nice. Well, before we dive into how people can find you, is there anything that I missed or any final thoughts about all your candles and your process or that you would like to touch on?
I don't know, just I appreciate the time that we've spent together and being able to share a little bit about my little small business and
It's so
you
awesome. I
know,
love it.
seeing it grow has been amazing and but what I get most out of it is, just connecting with people here and I want to grow obviously on a bigger level and I'd love to I have one retail partner in Oregon.
Okay.
And she's really a neat gal and has a small business there. And I'd love to spread down there as well because I have so many roots there. And, I'm already like, I have a million ideas, but, Spokane, surprisingly, we moved up here 3 years ago. My younger son and I, we didn't know how much, I mean, we love it up here for a lot of reasons, but we didn't know how much we were going to get out of living here as far as just, so it's
Good.
just bittersweet that this is where my business started.
Yeah.
I think there's
Yeah.
a reason for everything.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. Yes.
Yeah.
So obviously your website, bungalowcandlestudio.com, but what
Yep.
is your plan for this year? Because I know last year you were out and about at all the fairs,
Everywhere.
what's your plan for this year?
Yeah. So I plan to participate in a lot of the same markets that I did last year. For example, on Monday, we've got the Brick West. Actually, they call it West End Market on Mondays, but it's held at the Brick West Brewery. There's this really cute pavilion that they have next to them.
Okay.
That's Mondays. That one starts in June.
Okay.
Tuesdays is Fairwood, which is the north side near Mead High School. Wednesdays is Kendall Yards. I love that one too. Feels
Yeah.
like a block party. It's so fun.
It is. Yes.
A
Yes.
unique market.
Yeah.
Thursdays, South Perry, the Thursday market on Perry
Yes.
Street. I'm going to do partial market in Spokane Valley. And a lot of the reason is because the gal who runs it, Katie, she's just the neatest person. And I want to do her market. She's on a Friday and sometimes I do 3-day events that, consume that
Nice.
Friday,
Right.
but I'm going to be able to, do a little bit there
Oh,
and
nice.
then tons of, 3-dayers, lots of fun craft fairs that come up, Rebel Junk,
Yes.
some fun markets, vintage market days, Custer's. There's a lot of really fun ones.
Do you post those? What's the easiest way for people to see where you're going to be?
Yeah, so on Instagram,
Okay.
I post at least once a month. I'll put out my schedule, But then
Love
I'll
it.
also send little, reminders. I'm getting better at that. Last year, in social media is not my favorite thing to spend time doing, but
Right. Well,
you
and you've got so much going on that I get it. It's all a matter of
that too.
prioritization, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping I'm wanting to commit to being a little more uh what's consistent with getting, more feedback out on Instagram.
I love that. So I always like to end with by my definition of vibrant, which is glowing from the inside out. Are there a couple of businesses or people you've mentioned a lot kind of throughout this, but like a couple of key ones that have really inspired your journey to creating Bungalow Candle Studio?
Yeah, there's a couple, I mentioned April with her copywriting agency. She's really lovely. Um, when I first got started, there just so many people come to mind. The first person I met, her name is Becky. She owns Bath by Bex. She now has a storefront located in Spokane. She's just was like the epitome of somebody who just wanted to help everybody. And, her and her husband have their business to where she's just brilliant. She just, it's a world I'm not familiar with. She does bath bombs and some of them are CBD infused and things like that. And it's like she just understands her world. She's about educating people around her product. And then she's just an open book. Like as far as even things like, hey, these are some events I'm doing. These might be something you'd love to do. She was just somebody who connected and there was no competition of any kind. Like she's just a good person.
Oh, I
Another
love
person I
that.
can think of is Katie with Malted Mutt. She was my neighbor when we did Perry Street. I'm hoping we're neighbors again.
Oh yeah. I bet that's
And
so fun.
yeah, she's just fun and good at what she does, and she connects with people. And I just see her journey. Like she started her business in 2014, and
Okay.
she's never given up. She's just like, you know what I mean? And now I'm seeing her, I only just started, so I've only really just met her in the last year, but I'm just seeing her like, she's just like growing now, crazy. And I just love her, her story. And there's
Yeah.
more people. I mean, I think all the
Yeah.
people that run the markets, they are incredible.
Right. Yeah. And all of you committed to being out at the markets for us to come and shop. I mean, there's so many
They're fun.
like you said, you can go to a different one basically every day of the week. And
Every,
that's not with the like festivals and things going on throughout the year
yeah,
as well. So
I
it's
know. I
love it.
might apply to the one at Kootenai or in Coeur d'Alene. I think there's one I might, because that one's on a Saturday and a Wednesday, and I really
Yeah.
love having a presence in Coeur d'Alene.
Oh, I love
My
that.
retail partners there. So
Selfishly.
it's like, so we'll see. That would be a lot, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Those two are so fun too. They've got such different like vibes. The
So
cute small one
fun.
downtown and the other one, but yes.
Yeah.
Well, we shall see. I don't want to overload you, but at some
Yeah.
point, everyone can equally find you in the summer. You are out and about.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, Sue, this has been an absolute pleasure. I'm so just excited and inspired by what you're doing, and it's just
Thanks for
lovely to meet
having me,
you.
Gemma. Yeah, I
Yeah, my
appreciate it.
pleasure.